Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Barbara and this is cycle mapping. So this past year and a half I have been taking time to record videos mainly in Czech. So you haven't seen any content from me in a year and a half other than Czech, and if you don't speak Czech then you probably didn't know what I'm talking about. What I've been talking about and what I've been focused on was to map my cycle and see how the different phases of my cycle affect me, not only physically but mentally, and how I can use to my advantage the knowledge and deep understanding of those different phases and how it changes and how it affects me to become a better person, better version of myself, to be really more confident and more self-aware, because when I'm more self-aware I can be kinder and loving and more compassionate. The more we understand ourselves, the more compassionate and understanding we can be towards others, and so that's my goal. Also my main focus was my health, because for the longest time I have been struggling with eating disorder, which was emotional eating, and I just wanted to put stop to it because I've tried all the different kinds of diets in the world, you name it, I tried it, and it did not work, of course, because diets don't work. If you try something out for a little bit and you don't change your lifestyle, it's not gonna last. It's just something that you have to maintain, and some diets are not possible to maintain. My main focus also was my health and my well-being, and I've really truly enjoyed this process because it was helpful to do the changes step by step, a little by little. I finally understood that I cannot change all of a sudden everything, because it becomes too overwhelming and it's too much, and I can maybe maintain it for 2 weeks of my cycle when I'm in my active phase and when I'm just like good and I feel good and everything is kind of like easy. But when I went into my other half of my cycle, it became increasingly difficult to maintain some changes. I just fell back to my old patterns and old behaviors and nothing changed. I was only frustrated and unhappy, and it was just driving me crazy. And I knew that there must be some way, there must be some different way to approach this, and so that's why I started mapping my cycle, and it really helped me so much. I changed my life so much in this past year and a half. Not only I feel so much more energized, I feel super happy and well most of the time, I feel very nourished, and I feel so clear-minded. And on top of it, as like side effect, I lost about 40 pounds. It's only due to the small little changes that I've done in the past year and a half, and also a little movement, which was mainly my main movement was walk. I walked about 7,000 steps a day lately. Before that I started with about 3,000 to 4,000, and I started increasing the steps. Now I'm around the 7,000 a day, which is like my normal walk when I take my son to the school and back. So it's not like some extra effort that I have to put into it. It's something easy and something simple and something that I have been doing. Just lately I can see that my body needs a little bit more movement, so I'm sometimes like walking more steps, but I also feel more inspired and motivated to start working out. I didn't really want to work out before that because I felt that it would be actually more harm for my body that was overweight than advantage. I believe that we need to move in order to maintain a healthy lifestyle, but if we are overweight, we should start with something that is simple, easy, and it's not really gonna trigger problems with the joints and with other, like organs, because if we put more stress to our body, especially with emotional eating, you will fall back into your old habits so quickly and so easily that it's just not worth it. What really helped me also was to understand that throughout the cycle we are changing us women, our body is changing, our physiology is changing, our hormones are changing. So we have to take that into consideration if we wanted to maintain our health and well-being, because when we don't, then we are going against ourselves and we're creating resistance that is going to create some not so welcomed outcome. Let's be honest, men and women body works differently and our physiology is set up differently. Women bodies are designed to create another human being. Therefore, they must work differently than male body. That's just given. And the more we understand how our body works, the better care we can take of our body. And I focused my whole life on my mental and my spiritual journey and development, but I very much neglected my body for a really long time until it couldn't take it anymore and I started gaining the weight. I became very obsessed about food. The problem was that my whole life I had been struggling with my body image. I believe that most women do struggle with body image because it's a big pressure on women. Historically, women's worth was measured by her look and whether she can have babies or not. That's just how it is, and that's how it's been, and that's how it is still in some parts of this world. Let's just not try to beat around the bush and pretend that it's not. It's very much an issue nowadays with the social media, and even bigger, more pressure than ever before, because before women maybe read some articles or journals or newspapers, but nowadays it's all over media all the time and the pressure is enormous. So there's enormous pressure on this younger generation, and I feel very much called to help to show you understanding of where you're from. Of course, you're not gonna change your physiology, how your body is shaped, because that's given. We can have like ear shape or, you know, like triangle shape or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. Every body is a little bit different. First step in order to be happy is to accept that we have certain body type, and that's just how it is. I'm not super tall and I'm not super lean. I've never been. That's not how my physiological body is designed. It's created, let's say. But of course, before the cycle mapping, I was focused on losing weight, and I could never really lose the weight because I lost it, but I gained it back again. It's almost like you're trying to stretch something, but then when you release, it just goes back to its original shape. So that's how the body works too. If we don't change our behavior and our daily approach, it's just gonna go back to what it knows and where it feels safe and somehow comfortable. So we have to slowly, little by little, step by step, change our daily habits, and that's how we can change our body too. Our body is gonna adapt, but we have to take ourselves as the tri-dimensional beings that we're body, mind, and spirit. And so you can just imagine it, you know, like as the foundation of our well-being. So if we don't focus on our body and our mind and our spirit, there's gonna be some diversion and some problem and some resistance, because if we try to put focus on only one or two aspects of who we are, then one aspect is gonna be lacking and it's gonna create disharmony, and therefore it's gonna create some disbalance in our body. So the more we approach life as very complex, the more tools we're gonna have to create optimal well-being and health for ourselves. What is health and healthy weight for me is not going to be necessarily healthy weight and well-being for you. So that's very important in the cycle mapping to take into consideration. And the more I started to focus on my health and my well-being and how I can nourish my body and my mind and spirit, the more the body started to adapt to its optimal health and well-being. And as a side effect, I started losing the weight. Because when we stopped focusing on only the weight issue, as my main focus stopped being, like what weight I should have, the more relaxed I became also. And if we are not creating stress to ourselves, then the body can actually work in way better way, because it doesn't have to work with all the extra cortisol in our body. It is definitely in less stress, and not enough sleep or rest is creating usually the biggest obstacle for our health and to become more optimized and harmonious. I think that that's another problem nowadays, that we don't sleep enough, we don't rest enough. We are so focused on putting effort and going after some goal, and we're so driven, goal-oriented, that we simply are forgetting how important it is to rest. If you look at nature always has its own timing for everything, and it just creates whatever is necessary and needed. So I don't know why we got lost into all the noise of everything, because we want to experience so many things, and we are now experiencing so much more than people ever have. We have all this information that is surrounding us all the time, and it's actually overwhelming, because we as human species are adapting, but our body has been adapting for many centuries, and it cannot adapt just like within 5 decades. It's just not gonna adapt. So we have to go back to the basics, which that's what I did. And I started focusing on what's happening in my body and starting observing what is happening. And of course, the more I can see what's happening, the more I can nourish with the right amount of food, even with the right food in the right time, because certain food has certain nutrients at different times of our period. We need different food. Our body needs different food. And it just, again, if we look at nature, it's working cyclical as well. So there is, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, or you want to say fall in US. If we start realizing also that we gotta go to the basics and try to nourish our body also throughout the seasons, and not to force our body to eat all these different kinds of things that haven't been normal for the body to consume in certain phase of the year. We are confusing the body basically, and we are creating all these problems. Mental health is totally connected and correlated to what we eat. Finally, scientists are observing it and trying to research it, and there has been more and more researches showing how the well-being and mental health is connected to what we eat. Again, as I said, it's all interconnected, and it's so important not to forget some parts of who we are as human beings. Maybe at school you were taught that there is definitely 2 phases that you know: ovulation and menstruation. You probably heard that, you know that, so men and women, they both know these phases. But there are other phases that are happening also, and they have also the special names. So there is follicular, which is after the menstruation cycle, and there is the ovulation, and then there is the luteal phase before the menstruation phase. When the scientists started to research also like how our hormones are changing, what is happening within our body is that in the active phase, which I named spring, because you can kind of like compare it to the different cycles of nature. So the follicular represents spring, ovulator represents summer, the luteal represents the fall, and the menstrual phase represents winter. And so if you really focus on what is happening in the body, is that during the follicular spring time, our estrogen and testosterone in our body is raising up, and once it's at its peak, it's the ovulatory time, and then it's going down, and progesterone is starting to increase, and our estrogen and testosterone is going lower and lower, and when we're in our menstrual phase, it's at its lowest. If our body works in optimal way, that's how it's happening. But if it's not, then sometimes we have enormous amount of estrogen in our body, and so our body is not working properly or well because it's trying to get rid of all the extra estrogen, which we usually get in our body with food that we eat, also with a lot of hormones that are nowadays used in the food industry, and also hormonal contraception that is in water. And even if you don't take the contraception pills, it's still in the water, so we are affected by it. That's why so many people have troubles conceiving, because not only we have too many chemicals in our nature, in our soil, everywhere, but also in our body, and that it affects how it works. Our body is trying its best to work so we can survive. And a lot of the times when we lose our menstrual cycle, for example, all our organs have to be nourished so we can work and we can live. The menstrual cycle is not as important for surviving other than, procreation. So that's usually the first thing that is gonna go if we're not well. So I decided, because I've been doing the videos of the cycle mapping for over 1.5 years in Czech language, and I haven't been doing it in English. I feel now it's the time that I can start making the videos in English. So I'm gonna be alternating. 1 week is gonna be in Czech, 1 week is gonna be in English, and I'm gonna be talking about how I'm mapping my cycle, what I'm doing, what is happening, how can I work with certain situations within the cycle, and what's helping me. So if you have any questions, please leave me a comment, or if it's interesting topic for you, leave a comment too, or you can email me, whatever is working best for you. Please give this video a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel. I'm posting every week on Wednesdays, and I'm gonna look forward to see you at another video. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.